What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Weekly Words. It's April, so that means that it's National Poetry Month. And just like every other month or every other April in National Poetry Month, we're going to be focusing on poetry, poems that I've written and poems that other people have written that I just really enjoy, and they're on my favorite list. So this week, we're actually going to go back to my book, Behind the Smile, and check out my poem, Time Capsule. So let's check it out. Only time knows my secret. Not that I'm ashamed of my past, but no one cared enough to ask. I remember. The days I had to force myself out of bed, out of the house. I remember. Being embarrassed that I had to use food stamps to buy groceries and apply for a monthly unemployment check. I remember. Having the front row seat to the movie of my life, disappointed. With the main character's inability to overcome this strife, I found myself wanting to yell "cut" as if I were the director. I remember my struggle, my failures, my mistakes. But God created this beauty called time, and she's been keeping my secret. Over these past 2 years, I've been blessed and I've been growing. I'm not the man I used to be, and thank God they don't see that man. They just see me. They didn't see my come up or understand my progress, but they recognized my grit because I refused to let my circumstance define me. But my circumstance helped me find me. How could I appreciate my high if I never experienced the low? How could I expect the seeds of my potential to sprout if I never took time to sow? Now I'm reaping blessings, fruit I forgot I planted, happily walking in my new season. I don't need time to keep my secret anymore because I want you to be a witness. Time Capsule is always one of my favorite poems to share, maybe not in a big group setting, but just one-on-one, because I think it really outlines a journey of growth and the importance of time in our lives. I think so many times whenever we see people who have success or have happiness or who have joy or have found their purpose, we just automatically assume and think that it's always been like that for them, right? That everything just magically fell into place and they're just completely favored and blessed and everything's just working out completely for them at all times. But what we don't see is all the things that happen behind the scenes. What happened to them before the success? What happens to them when they have whatever circumstance or situation and how they respond mentally, emotionally, right? We don't always see what people go through to get to where they are. And I feel like this poem walks us through what it could look like for someone, right? At the beginning of the poem, I start out by saying, only time knows my secret. Not that I'm ashamed of my past, but to be honest, how many of us are actually ashamed of our past? We're ashamed of our mistakes. We're ashamed of our failures. We're ashamed of our misses. We're ashamed at maybe where we are currently because we think we should be further. And because of that, oftentimes I think we all fold in on ourselves and try to hide it, right? Have you ever been so disappointed with where you are in your life or what you previously done that you would look back and think, dang, I want to even support myself. I want to even be friends with me, right? I know that feeling. That's the feeling that I was alluding to in this poem. And I'm sure there's lots of people who have felt that way. And if you felt that way, I want to encourage you today that you do not have to be ashamed of where you come from. That actually helps shape your story. And that's why it's so important to allow God into your life, because he helps give you that revelation, right? Towards the middle of the poem, I talk about how over a 2-year time period, the life started to change, right? In the moments when we have the failures, the mistakes, and the mishaps and less than ideal, if we have the right mindset, if we have the right response, if we have the right relationship with God, those can easily become lessons, growth, and development opportunities, right? It doesn't have to be this negative space. And sometimes you have to go through the valley first before you can make it to the mountaintop. And one of the things that I really like, my favorite line in this whole poem is, I refuse to let my circumstance define me, but my circumstance helped me find me. Think about it. What would it look like for you to be in a space where it doesn't, you don't feel defined by the house you live in, the job you work, the people in your neighborhood, your past mistakes, or the family that you were born into? All of that doesn't define you, right? You are a person who you are by yourself, and just in being a son or daughter of God. But knowing that that circumstance can actually help you find yourself, right? Put you in a situation to see, how do you respond when things get tough? How do you respond when things don't go your way? How do you respond when you've tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed? Who are you in those moments, right? When you're stripped down from everything, who are you? And here's the thing. God wants us to be bigger, to be better. He doesn't want us just to survive. He wants us to thrive. But how do we get to that spot, right? And again, like I've been saying, it all starts with your mindset and your posture. The poem then ends with, how can I appreciate my high if I never experienced my low? And how can I expect my seeds of my potential to sprout if I never took time to sow? Just like I said, there's going to be times in our life when we have to do things that we don't really enjoy. Maybe we don't find favor in that moment, but the action of sowing a seed is necessary in order to reap the harvest and the blessings in due season. So even though ideal right now might not look ideal, what are you doing so that the future does look ideal, right? Are you willing to plant seeds now to reap a harvest later? And then you see at the end of the poem, the feeling of shame and regret's no longer there. And there's this realization that, hey, if I share my story and what I've been through, maybe I can encourage somebody else who's going through very similar things. Because here's the idea. Even though the details of our life might be different, the themes of our life are the same. And we've all felt the theme of failure, rejection, and we have faults. So why do we keep them hidden, right? Let's share them with those around us to encourage and inspire and help and develop and grow together. We don't have to put everything in a time capsule for people to find years later. Let's talk about it now. There's no need for you to be ashamed. That's how you can actually help yourself to grow. Sometimes you have to go through the valleys in order to get to the mountaintop.